leaders who are shaping the future. Whether you're here to learn about cutting-edge projects or to deepen your understanding of blockchain basics and decentralization, Leather is your go-to source for all things Bitcoin. Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Leather Lounge. I'm your host, Sean Longstreet, and today we've got a fantastic show lined up for you. We are talking with the one and only legendary Violetta, and Violetta is a pioneering musician on Bitcoin, and I'm just so excited to bring her here because this is where we talk with the leaders and the founders and the artists and builders and innovators in the Bitcoin economy. So Violetta is the perfect guest for us today. And she has built an impressive career as a musician, singer-songwriter, an actor with 5 studio albums, multiple world tours, and even a starring role in a Netflix original production. So in 2022, Violetta took us a bold step in the blockchain world, and she put the traditional music releases on pause to explore the possibilities of Web3. And that risk certainly paid off in a big way, and she's now the #1 independent NFT music artist globally, generating over $2.5 million in revenue and building a thriving community of over 1,500 dedicated fans. And her groundbreaking music Ordinal recently sold for 1 Bitcoin, and that's setting a new precedent for artist sovereignty and the value of music on the Bitcoin blockchain. She's also the co-founder of Kaya Music, a company dedicated to helping artists and labels develop digital strategies and successfully navigate Web3. So today we're diving into her journey, how she built this thriving community, why the future of music is on-chain, and what her success means for artists seeking independence and autonomy in their work and career. Violetta, I have so many questions. So before I get started, let me say welcome to the lounge. And yeah, let's just check in. How you doing, and how's 2025 treating you so far?
Well, hi, Sean. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. Thank you for that warm intro and all those those things that you said. I really appreciate that. I'm good. 2025 is starting really well. I guess we're already 3 months in, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Feel like we don't have enough time to do anything in our life. But yeah, it's good. So many new things going on, and yeah, I'm excited to be here. I watch this stream often, so yeah.
Amazing. Well, I know in my research, I saw that it was around 2022 when you really started to break into the Web3 scene. And when you were first on my radar, it was because you were popping into Twitter Spaces all the time, performing live, growing your audience, and you talk about like grassroots, boots on the ground, just connecting with people and performing and showcasing your raw talent. Before we talk about like the foundational years of your musical upbringing, let's just start around the pivot when you were first exploring what Web3 was. I don't even think it was called Web3 in 22. But this concept of NFTs, what was the light bulb moment for you, and what was that transition like in those early days?
Yeah, I think the Web3 word was around, but I remember embarrassing myself calling it 3Web for the longest time
Nice, nice.
because I just didn't understand the meaning of that word. I didn't know what Web 2 was. Like I never thought about the concept Web 1, 2, or 3. Like what, normal people don't think about this stuff. But I guess the light bulb moment was around the holidays, Christmas time of 2021. So, sort of on the late stages of that massive bull run of 2021, where everyone was starting to talk about it, and it hadn't come across me. Like I didn't I wasn't aware of anything. I didn't know what the blockchain was. I heard of Bitcoin, but like I'd never heard of NFTs. But I went home for the holidays back to Italy, and I was sort of going through a time where I was reassessing where I was at in my career. I'd given myself another 6 months to sort of see if something pivotal was going to happen, and if it didn't, I probably would have stopped trying to pursue music as a full-time um, career, because I'd already been doing it for a really long time, and it was still in the COVID time where it was really bad. And I just made an album, and the labels were not caring about it. They kept telling me be on TikTok, whatever. And then actually, it was my mom who turned around and said, "Hey, like, do you know what an NFT is?" Yeah, she
Wow.
was just she's always so informed about everything. Like she's up to speed with all technological advancements that happen in the world, although she doesn't like practice any of them really. She just reads a lot. She knows a lot about everything. And she's like, Snoop Dogg is doing this. And he's doing well, and people are collecting music like digitally. So before you quit, why don't you take a look at that? And so I did, considering I had an iPhone 6 and like a MacBook Air from 2015. Like I was, you know what I mean? Like a girl with a guitar. That's it. But I
Yeah.
was like, I have nothing to lose right now, and also my whole dream to lose. So I had to go in.
Yeah. That's amazing. You talk about the early days in Snoop Dogg. I remember listening to Clubhouse room, and there were
Mm.
maybe 20 people in there. They were talking about NFTs, and someone said, "Oh, Snoop Dogg is getting really into NFTs. Let me go ping him and see if I can get him in here." I'm like, "Who is this guy? He's gonna bring Snoop?"
Let me go
And
ping him.
and Snoop Dogg showed up, and he was talking about how cool NFTs were, and I'm like, "Is this real? Is this happening right now?" So talk about like being early, right?
Oh wow, that's incredible. He's still on it. I mean, he's a legend. He just pulled his music from Spotify, or he's about to. So,
Oh, he's
yeah.
following on the trends that Violetta is setting down. I see. Yeah. Okay, so li- um, there's so many things we can go to. So, what about the launching your first couple of NFTs? What was that onboarding process like? And how did it, when did you realize, like, oh, this is viable? It's opening me up to a whole new worldwide global audience.
Yeah, so when I first learned about it, I just literally just Googled what is an NFT, and I didn't understand exactly what it said, because it's like non-fungible token. There's not, even to this day, I feel like there isn't a single good description of what an NFT is, which is wild to think about that. But then I started immediately Googling, like, okay, but why would someone buy it? Like, why, how do I sell one? Like, how does this work? Why should I do it? And then it really did click. You're collecting something digitally, because we live in a digital era pretty much, in the same way you'd buy something physical, you buy digital, right? It's that simple in my opinion. But the onboarding, honestly, like, it wasn't that hard. I was lucky that I met a few people in the space through Twitter spaces. Especially I came across Nifty Sacks. Do you know Nifty Sacks?
Mm-mm.
You know. Okay, he's actually, I think he's taking a little break from the space, or he's definitely pursuing his music still on like world stages. He's amazing, but he's a saxophone player from Italy. His real name is Milo. And I was hearing him and Fifi Wrong, who's also a music NFT artist who's very much focused on IRL right now. And they were having a space, Web3 music space for introverts, where like they just allowed people that were newbies to come up and ask questions. So we connected because we were both Italian, and like there's not many people from Italy in the space, obviously. We hopped on a call, and he was like, "Look, love your music. I am starting a Web3 music artist incubator with Robin, who's my dev, and we're looking for an artist to sort of like debut this with. If you want, we'd like to help you set yourself up and do your first drops and lead up to a big drop and sell it out. So I was
Wow.
really lucky that I met them and they took me by the hand and showed me all the ins and outs and helped me get set up on OpenSea and drop my first five NFTs and then 10 and then a one of one. And I guess when I first, I guess honestly, before I even sold my first five editions of my first song, the fact that I was able to effectively travel the world through spaces and perform in front of people that didn't know me and I didn't know them, and just like literally request to speak and start singing. That to me was mind blowing already. Like, I speak about this with my friend Tony, who's a metaverse pioneer. Pretty much, he created one of the first codes for the metaverse back in the 90s. He's like, I think like one of the best applications for the metaverse right now is spaces, social audio, because you're connecting like so many people at the same time and you're doing things you would do IRL, right? So I just started performing all day long and I realized that people were connecting with my music and I started following up with everybody and already creating a community before I started selling anything. So then when I sold five NFTs at point 0.1 ETH each, and that was like more than I'd ever made on Spotify ever, in my whole life with 10 million streams. And
Hmm.
those very people were in my DMs and we were having a group chat. I had their email, like we were friends now. That was like mind blowing to me. So, yeah.
Amazing. Um, so let's see. I know that I want to talk about the obviously like the one BTC sale is pretty epic, but let's get there a little bit later because I want to know more about your music background because we were in the blockchain Bitcoin space, right? And one of there's like a central ethos around transparency.
Mm.
You can kind of witness anything on the blockchain. And I think that's a really good compliment to your musical style as well, because you're not one of those musicians who kind of hides behind studio tricks. You
Mm.
you perform live, as you will do on the show later today. And you just put yourself out there fully, transparent and authentically for everyone to see. So I think there's like a really good parallel between your musicianship and style and the ethos of blockchain. But your I wanted to dig into the background of, what was your childhood like? Where did your musical tastes come from? Who were your heroes? Who were your mentors in those early days? And how did that shape the artist that you are today?
Yeah, definitely. I started playing music when I was very young. When I was three, I joined a choir, like with other kids, and we were just singing. And then I started taking classical piano lessons when I was five, and I did that for 11 years. So I definitely had like a classical upbringing to kind of my music, my start in music. Although I really did hate like reading music and theory, like I hate studying. I'm someone, I sucked in school. Like I'm just like I'm not someone who likes to study and follow programs. That's for sure. But that did a lot for me, as I'm sure and I'm sure it was similar for you. When you start that young, it's just like it becomes a part of you. It becomes a part of how you live your life, pretty much, and how you think. But my dad um, plays music. He's a musician. That's not his job, but he loves music. He's played in bands his entire life. He writes songs. We write songs together, and um, we used to play together. Like we used to jam, ever since I was like 3 or 4 years old. So definitely he's an artist. He's an illustrator for Disney. So he's a creative person overall. And my mom also very supportive. So I had super supportive parents, that just always encouraged both me and my sister to follow our passion. And it was almost like if we weren't artistic, they would have been almost disappointed, kind of thing,
Hmm.
So it's this weird thing where, like, yeah, you do it because you love it, but also because your parents are really proud of you. So but in terms of influences, because I think I studied so much classical music, I have a lot, like, I think about that, a lot when I write my songs. And I'm a big fan of Baroque music. Maybe because like there's a lot of it where I'm from. I'm from a small city in Italy that holds culture, art, and music really high up in their priorities. They have a string quartet festival every year. They have like a lot of things like that go on all the time, and my parents would make sure I would go. Right, so that's sort of ingrained in me. But then I I actually, my favorite band growing up was Green Day for some weird reason, like I
Because they
just
write great
love,
music. I mean,
I do.
they've got great melodies, great energy, great just
Yeah.
everything for writing hit songs.
I know. And it is rock, of course, but it's got a melodic feel to it, right? That I
Yeah.
really, really enjoy. So that's why I started playing guitar so I could play along Green Day and same thing singing. And then I really got into like Johnny Cash and, folk music like that and blues because my dad played mostly in blues bands. So I had that influence as well in me. And it took me a long time. I'm sure you know the feeling. It takes you a long time to find your identity. When you have all these influences, then you're like, okay, well, but who is me? Right? For the longest time, I want it to be like American. I want to do like folk singer, songwriter. And then the first time I came to America when I was 21, I did a road trip in the south of the United States where I live now. Um, and I realized this is awesome, but this is not me. I
Hmm.
was like, I'm from Italy. Like, come on, I grew up going to string quartet festivals, like
Yeah.
it's just not this is not me. So it would be wrong for me to pretend, that this is me. So I'm gonna try and find my identity. And so I guess now like I take a lot of inspiration from old like Mediterranean sounds and Spanish music, French, like chanson kind of thing, which is all very connected.
Yeah, definitely. I think, how do you treat that DNA of your musical heritage that you grew up listening to? And how do you invite that into your songwriting, or how do you balance it? Like, yeah, is it something that you try to like balance or keep in check, or is it something you honor? What's your approach there?
Yeah, I definitely try to keep it in check because I don't want to become like, cliche. Like
Hmm.
that's another thing. Like there's a lot of amazing singer-songwriters that belong to like the folklore of each country, right? That are very much just that. And I don't feel like I am just that. I've traveled a lot and I've absorbed a lot of different music, and I love, again, like Green Day is one of my favorite bands, and then Chet Baker on the other side. So it's just so many different things that I love. And so I feel like I found my voice quite literally. So my sound will be in my voice and in not so much the style, but maybe the style of songwriting. That's what I try to do because I don't want to be also like constricted in a genre. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I don't want to be in one sound, like use the one guitar or the one snare drum, because if I drift off from that, then my audience is going to be confused. I feel like this is a new thing, this kind of um this obligation for artists to stick to one sound, and because otherwise the audience is going to be confused. Is new because back in the 70s, you listen to a Led Zeppelin record and it's like 10 different genres, or the Beatles, right? 10 different genres in one album, but
Hmm.
it's them because of the way, the spirit behind their songwriting. And so that's kind of what I try to stay true to.
So smart. Yeah, Led Zeppelin, they just had their thumb on the pulse of what was popular. And it's amazing to hear how much variety they had. Like you said, it sounded like so many genres in one album. Um, my background is as a jazz guitar player. I've spent like 20 years performing as a jazz guitar player. And one of one thing that I love is like the Great American Songbook, right? Cole
Yeah.
Porter, Lerner and Lowe, Rodgers and Hammerstein. And the song craftsmanship in those days was so top tier when it comes to finding the melody, marrying that with great lyrics on a good chord progression. And I feel like that's something that your music possesses. And to me, I think it gives it like a timelessness.
Oh,
It kind of harkens back to the craftsmanship of songwriting, but in a fresh, unique Violetta way. So that's just something that's always resonated about your music and your songwriting to me personally. And it's just to come back to the sheer talent when you're performing solo by yourself with a guitar in your voice, with like not hiding behind studio tricks. I think that's really fresh and appealing. Not everyone can do it, but that's one of your signature strengths. So maybe if you can weave that into how you approach like audience curation, connecting with new audience members, and how do you nurture those relationships, and maintain those relationships through those NFTs that you've been releasing over the past 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much. You gave me the greatest compliment because that's like when I hear, something like that, I'm like, yes, okay, I think I'm doing my job right. Because literally, melodies are my favorite thing. Like if a melody is not able to exist on its own without anything around it, to me, it's not a melody. Like that's just, what I aim to do every time. So thank you so much for that. It means the world. And regarding connecting with audiences, I feel like going back to being really authentic, the same way that is just me with a guitar. I know that's something I can sustain, the same, like, I know that's something I'm never going to get tired of. And so, the same way when I connect with my audience is because I really want to. And I never do it in a way that I don't feel is authentic or sustainable. Mostly it's because of that, right? I want to be able to continue doing it forever. And so I really don't think it would be possible if I'm doing it in a way that is not real, and it wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm just very upfront with people, I'm just like trying to show them the love that I feel for them. I feel like a lot of artists are almost afraid of being very upfront with their quote unquote fans because, oh, I'm the artist, I should be like on pedestal, like I should, keep some composure. And I'm like, no, like I feel like that way you might incur in the risk of being a little bit too untouchable and too unrelatable. Whereas I feel like artists are already unrelatable and very relatable at the same time because they do something that not many people can do, but they also have the ability to relate with people if only they just like, you know, act like normal people. I don't know, and not like all weird and like quirky, you know what I mean? So just for the sake because they're an artist, like no, I feel there's no point in that. So I'm just very upfront with them and I hang out with them because they're my friends. I've become really, really good friends with some of my NFT holders. The fact that we can connect through music directly with no middleman, no platforms, no anything. Like it's literally from me to them and from them to me, that allows all this to happen more smoothly, in my opinion. So,
Yep. I definitely want to put a pin in that. But first, I have to share a little surprise for you from
Hey
one of
V,
our
surprise.
one of your
oh
biggest
my
fans
God.
here.
Hey,
Thank you
Brett.
very much to Longstreet for inviting me to create this little video. Just popping in to let you know what an inspiration you are, your drive, your passion, your skill, your singing, your music ability, the way you lift up those around you and you really champion those who are building for the better and for creators and for collectors with the right intent. It was a real pleasure to have you on board consulting and providing feedback as we built and got ready to really scale Parrot Radio. We're still in that process. It's a pleasure to be working alongside you in so many different capacities on Bitcoin now, really supporting you as a musician, but feeling that support right back. Longstreet can probably tell you a little bit about it, but he was our first, I think, musician on Parrot Radio when he was releasing music back on Stacks back in the day. That was our little playground where we started before we then built out and scaled out the product to be available on an ETH and some of ETH's L2s. I'm sure he can tell you all about that. Just want to finish off to say, really appreciate you, your support of me, both personally at Gamma, what I do at the Pandemonium with all that we build. We can't do it without you, the creators in this space. You're the backbone of everything that happens here. Without creators, there is no Web3, there are no music NFTs, there is no visual art. So, from the bottom of my heart, a big thank you back to you, and can't wait to see your growth. And I'm sure you're talking all about your big announcement from this week right now. So all the best, and we'll be here to support you all the way.
Oh my God.
Lots of love on the Leather Lounge today. Isn't Brett the best?
I'm getting emotional.
Yeah,
Oh
well,
God.
just to
He's
take it back to after you were starting to break in, I'm curious how I imagine it's through a lot of those spaces that you got connected with Brett, and then he reached out to, to get you releasing things and making them playable via the Parrot Radio app.
Yeah, we met on some ordinal spaces,
Yeah.
I think, in 2023. And he was super nice to me because that was when was first sort of looking into inscribing a song. And a lot of people were like, no, you can't do it, too big of a file size, and like, nah, blah, blah, blah. And very few people were actually supportive, and they were like, yeah, I think you can do it. You know what I mean? And Brett was one of them. And then he told me about Parrot Radio, and I was like, you know what, dude? Like, there is no single music player right now on ETH for all these music NFT artists and their collectors that want to hear those songs that they bought. So he was like, all right, well, let's ship it out on ETH. Are you gonna help us? And so we did it. So yeah, he's the best, and I'm actually so grateful that I got to see him in person so many times, despite the fact he lives in Australia. Like, it's amazing. So
Amazing. Well, let's transition then, and let's talk about when you were trying to solve this problem of you wanted to put music on chain as an ordinal. There's a lot of challenges, but you did it. So talk us through how you overcame the technical hurdles, um, and then what the road was like until you made that one BTC sale.
yeah, so yeah, I remember first finding out about ordinals and like immediately saying, okay, I need to put one of my songs on Bitcoin. And I sort of experimented with a couple songs that I had, but I wasn't that motivated, I guess, at the very beginning. This was like in the spring, early spring of 2023. Maybe because the song didn't quite make it worth it to me. For me, I'm like someone who serves the song. Why do I have to like put all this effort to do something that's difficult if this song, can totally live somewhere else? It's fine. Until actually the 10-year anniversary of my career came up. And I wrote a song about it, just sort of like, unsolicited, not necessarily on purpose. I was just like, I just wanted to mm, create a memory of that moment, of that milestone for me, because 10 years is those first 10 years at least were really like a lot. You know what I mean? A lot of effort. So I just sort of wrote the song to celebrate that moment. I was like, oh my God, like I want to inscribe this. Like, this is a milestone that I want to inscribe, right? And maybe I can find a sat from the day that my career started. And I did, and I found it. So it was really cool that I was, able in theory to combine those two things, the song and art, that my dad made, because he's, like I mentioned earlier, he's an artist, with the sat. And it was really hard. I kept asking around, like, how do I do this? A lot of people were like, no, it's impossible. The file size is too big. Recursion wasn't a thing. And even, I think recursion was starting to come out, but I was like, I don't want to split up my song. Like, this is a whole piece. I wanted to stay together. Um, and only really two people were like, sort of gave me the green light, the mental green light. Yes, you can do this. It might cost you a bit. And it was, one of them was Brett, and the other was Leonidas, who was like, no, it's totally possible to do this. Like, it might cost you a little bit, but it's fine. You can do it. So I worked with my friend Jigsaw, that I want to give a shout out to, because he was also the only one who was bold enough to say, yeah, we can crunch your song to 400 kilobytes. Because nobody else was like, everyone else was like, oh, this is, no, no, I don't dare to do something like that. He was like, no, we can. So we did it. And then we inscribed it, but it was definitely hard to learn. Um, I mean, to just learn all the technical side of things, but at the same time, it's actually more straightforward than NFTs sometimes when you think about it. Like NFTs is all like Cody and like, you know what I mean? So then we did it, and then I inscribed actually four more after that. So, but I was waiting for the right songs. You know, whenever I had the right song, I would do it. Not every song that I wrote in the last 2 years ended up on Bitcoin. Only the ones that I thought belonged there. And then eventually I wrote the song No Ordinary Kind, inspired by the No Ordinary Kind collection, Ordinals collection, because I'd started working with them and I was creating sort of a documentary series about the no ordinary kinds of the world, the defiant ones, right? The ones that go after their dreams no matter what. And naturally, when I was thinking about the concept and sort of writing a script, I feel like, you know, musicians think in music and think of the soundtrack before they think of the movie kind of thing. So the song came out and then I decided to inscribe it and yeah, and then we put it up for auction and it sold. So yeah.
Amazing. How, what were the like the technicals with the auction? How long was it? What was the start? What was it like to see the bids come through? And how did you market it too? I mean, because this is a great educational opportunity too, and I know you're passionate about helping others on board. So, what was your approach to, you know, you find the song, you know it's worthy of being put on chain. Then what? What's the approach there?
I think it really is hard to define a blueprint for that because I do what works for me, but I don't think I have the ability to give, you know, a very generic, especially when it comes to marketing and connecting with your audience. And so, you know, if we talk about Kaya later, I can touch on this as well, but even in that case, like we are making it a point to do things customized to each person because and try to understand, like audit the artist and audit the audience and really see what their message is and make sure that we can enhance that. Um, and so, but for me, what happened was, yeah, so I inscribed the song, and that's actually a little bit bigger than the other ones. It's 500 kilobytes. We were able to push a little bit because the fees were low. So we're like, okay, let's do this. And so I used Magic Eden for the auction. It was 2 day long auction and it's pretty easy to work with Magic Eden. We did have to do something custom because they didn't really have the ability to play like sound, which is, you know, something that marketplaces really need to get their shit together, excuse my French, but like, you know, it's not that hard. Okay, so I'm grateful to Magic Eden for sorting that out for me for the auction because I'm like, this is a song, like people need to hear it. And then, you know, I really do feel like, especially with music, like music is stories, you know. So for me, the biggest thing that I've noticed is that people collect my music because of me, not so much because of the song itself, you know. And of course, there's some people that connect with one song more than the other one, right? And that's the whole point. But I have a lot of people that join my community because they believe in the message, in the vision. You know, they want to be part of a movement or just like I've had people that straight up told me to my face, if your song had come to the radio, onto the radio 3 years ago, I wouldn't have necessarily like stopped and listened. But now I'm your biggest whale because I've gotten to have that relationship and enter your world and live your music beyond just passive listening to the song, right? Because songs, when you think about it, it's just an extension of us as artists. And it's just one of the millions of them that we have. So why, you know, why keep your audience from experiencing all that other stuff that you have? And I think that's really the trick. Whatever kind of music you make, I would say that that is what works. Just allow people into your art beyond just your mere one song or whatever, you know?
So let's transition to Kaya then, because you're now an expert, you're a pioneer in this space. So you have a lot to offer. And I hear what you're saying about it's hard to create a blueprint for everyone else because everyone needs to find their own approach and what works for them. But what is Kaya and how did it come about and what do you aim
Yeah.
to solve?
Yeah, for sure. So Kaya is, I would say, in very lame terms, a consulting team. So in pure like professional business terms, that's what it is. It's myself and my brilliant friend Camilla Brossa, who's a blockchain and Web3 quantum computing AI like expert. She's just like, plus a very organized person who went to college. Like she's really good at doing all that stuff that I like hate doing, being very organized and like keeping everything orderly. um but basically what happened was I've had for the past 3 years people reach out to me all the time. Please, can you help me? I want to do this. How do I do it? Where do I start? And I find myself always trying to help people, but I'll be honest, okay? Like especially when it's Web 2, artists approaching me, it does feel like when people just ask you, "Hey, can you help me?" It's like they don't really pay attention when you try and help them. You know what I mean? It's almost like they do need this more officialized like thing that you present them with so that they will take it more seriously and then follow up on your advice, right? Because if it's just artist to artist, peer to peer, ironically, they're gonna be like, okay, whatever, in my experience at least. And most recently, Camilla actually had a really big artist approach her and say, "Hey, like I want to experiment with the blockchain." And she's like, "I may call Violetta and see if she wants to team up and we can, actually do something custom and proper for this artist that has a big opportunity to like onboard his audience to the blockchain. Mostly not for the sake of the blockchain. He's just like craving a new way to engage with his audience." And so Camilla was like, "You should probably do it through the blockchain." So we decided to make it an official thing and say, okay, maybe we're going to open this up to more people. We've been working on it for months, sort of behind the scenes and helping people in an unofficial way. And then we're like, why don't we just make this a thing and open it up? And we're going to have, different tiers, because obviously we understand like labels may have certain resources and other artists, signed artists, may need certain things that independent artists don't need, or maybe they need more of. And so we're going to have a wide range um, of options for all kinds of people in the music industry, as well as like packages, right? Because the blueprint I was talking about earlier is, like I said, it's hard to create when it comes to like messaging and marketing and just putting yourself, like your personality out there. But when it comes to the more technical side of things, you can of course create a blueprint, right? Like these are the tools, this is how you use them. And so we're going to have like courses like that as well that we make available.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that is really needed in the space right now. So what do you think, if you could fast forward 5 years from now, what do you think the Web3 space looks like for artists who are seeking that autonomy, that not being reliant on the Web2, the Spotifys of the world, but having agency over their own career? What do you think the necessary steps are between now and the next 5 years? And what do you think that means for onboarding the next generation of artists?
I think, um, okay, 5 years is not a long time, but also this world moves really fast. And but the reason why I'm saying it's not a long time is because in the last 3 years I haven't really seen that much sort of like, how do you say, realization from musicians. I've seen it in the last year. Like in the last year, it does feel like people are starting to see, oh, like this is really shitty, and people are starting to speak out. So I think in the next 5 years, we're just gonna see more of that, and there's gonna need to be, in terms of steps that need to be taken. I think a lot of general internet education, because most people don't really know how the internet works, like in general. You know what I mean? They just don't know what they're doing. And we're very blessed to be right here, right now, that we get to see the internet behind the scenes. If you think about it, we're just like getting to look into, the little details, which most people just don't even, they're not even aware of. I actually read a stat this morning. Get this. In Italy, there's about 18% of the population that has never used the internet.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. 5 years is not, it's kind of not very many years, for things to really like change. Um, but what I think is going to happen is that artists slowly are going to start realizing that they don't need platforms, that they can host their own website, whether it's a Web3 website or not, and they can own what they do pretty much. I do feel like the sandcastle is slowly starting to like crumble a little bit. What I hope to see in 5 years is new business models, whatever those are, for musicians, validated.
Hmm.
Like, I don't want there to be a monopoly anymore. Record labels can exist, platform can exist. I just don't want different models to be seen as weird. You know what I mean? Because that's what's happening right now. If you're not on Spotify, you're an outcast. You're not in the music community. That's wrong. I live in Nashville, and it's like, oh, you're not on Spotify? Oh, you're not going through the same things as us? Okay, I'm not taking you seriously. Like, it's wild, even from my peers. So I just hope that that happens, that it's not going to be seen as weird anymore. But because in any other industry, like if you're a traditional artist, you can be a sculptor, you can be digital artist, painter, whatever, right? And no one's going to judge you for your medium. So that's what I hope to see.
Yeah, well, Bitcoiners attract, or the Bitcoin ecosystem attracts people who are innovators and they don't necessarily follow the straight and narrow path, right? And similarly with you, what you've done, choosing to pull your music off of Spotify and go your own way, yeah, that a lot of people will see that as very risky and just like not even doable, especially with you being surrounded by the world's greatest musicians in Nashville. You're really one of a kind there, probably, right? Like, so what is it like living in Nashville now, interfacing with these world-class musicians who are just recording nonstop and writing? What's it like, maybe just on a musical level, being there? And then if you want to weave in like the conversations that you have with some of these people about how you are carving your own path.
Yeah, on a musical level, it's amazing. Like, one of the big reasons why I chose to live here, despite me not being part of the music industry, because so many musicians move here in hopes they can, work their way up. That's not why I moved here, because I'm not interested in being in that scene. It's just so that I can go and see so much live music whenever I want. Like, I saw Bob Dylan in front of 200 people a year and a half ago, and it was just like, only in Nashville that you
Wow.
can do stuff like that. I know, yeah. So, and I just love the music culture that there is here. People do not flinch if they're going into a bar just to have a drink on a Friday night, and they have to pay $15 because there's a band playing, and nobody even thinks about it. Like, yeah, of course, so whereas I feel like it's not like that, like in New York, for example, or other places in the world. So that's amazing. And then I've recorded my album Moonshot. That was my first NFT collection here in Nashville with some unreal musicians. And it was just, it was one of the most unforgettable experiences, maybe the most unforgettable experience I've ever had. Like, the fact that we recorded 5 songs in one day, like with a 5-piece band one day, and then the next day we did overdubs and strings, and that was it. And it's like,
Wow.
the best quality record I've ever done. And you know what I mean? It's just crazy. So from that standpoint is amazing. And in terms of like conversations I have with people, I truly am seen as like this weird person, it's like, like some people think that I'm not really a musician, you know, that I'm not professional. Like, unfortunately, there's that. Oh, she probably bought Bitcoin in like 7 years ago, whatever. No. You
Not the
know,
case.
that's what a lot of people think, or they're intrigued, but they are scared of being lonely, you know, because the music career is effectively, although you are part of a community, you're pretty much, it's the Kane Mayfield says this all the time, it's not a team sport, you know, each person to themselves. And so it's already that way in the traditional music industry. And so if you stray yourself even more, you become just completely, you know, an outcast. And so that's sort of what I am. But I feel like I'm way less stressed than all the other musicians in town. You know what I mean? Like, I'm chill. Like, I'm excited for the future. You know, I wake up every day and excited about a new, you know, thing that I could do today using the blockchain. And I just saw a video on Instagram yesterday of one of my favorite artists in Nashville who just signed to an amazing record label, Rounder Records, which is like an amazing Americana folk label here. And I watched her grow from 2019 until now. She's from the Netherlands, moved to Nashville, like similar story to me. She just signed to that label, starting to put out her album. 2 weeks later, she's like, guys, I need you to stream more because I'm in debt with a label. And they told me I need to ask my audience for more streams. And I'm like, fuck, how are we still at that stage? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they
So,
know how to dangle the carrot.
yeah. But
Yeah,
like,
it's
imagine
really appealing.
waking up on a Monday morning to that email from your label that says you need to
Yeah,
ask your 15,000 followers to stream more so we can make, you know, a third of a penny, you know, per stream.
it's
Never
crazy.
getting out of this, you know?
Yeah. Well, you found your own way, and
Yeah.
that's, I guess, why you wake up feeling like I've already made it, and everything else is just extra.
I'm making music. What more
Yeah,
do I want? Like, that's, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, tell us what you're working on right now.
Oh man. Yeah. So Kaya Music obviously is taking up a lot of my time right now, because we are building, like I said, a lot of different packages to offer to different kinds of artists, labels, managers, whatever. And that's another thing. Like, I do hate labels, managers, and platforms. So that's me. But I, you know, that's exactly why I want to help them, because I don't love the way they operate. So I want to make sure that I'm there for them and help them do the right thing and do right by their artists. So, you know, that's also kind of a challenge for me. I'm going to have to, I am currently like speaking to a lot of label people through Kaya, and I'm like, they're biting my tongue, like, okay, I'm going to be nice. So there's that. And then I'm working on three other pretty big things that unfortunately I cannot really talk about yet. One thing I can say though is all of them have Bitcoin at the foundation, but one of my big goals this year is to do things that go outside of our sort of like microcosmos of Web3 Twitter community. I feel like we as music artists have that potential because we make music. That's a universal language. And so my goal is to make something that allows people to enter inside the music beyond just listening, and that is palatable, you know, to wider audiences. And they're not going to go to it because it's on Bitcoin, but they'll go to it and then they'll realize, oh, wow, this wouldn't be possible without the blockchain, right? So I'm sort of like trying to strategize, how do I do my part, you know, to push the blockchain industry forward and Bitcoin. And then I want to do a tour. I'm planning a tour around the US. I want to go to where my holders live and get them to help me find the venues and sell out the venues and onboard all their friends, families, neighbors, and colleagues to Web3, thanks to music. So that's another big thing that I'm working on for later in the year.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're inviting your audience to be a part of the journey and asking for help. And when you invite someone or ask for help, there's this sense of, ownership.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I should be sharing your website and music NFTs right now. Can you see it?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
great. Yeah, I just wanted to showcase this. This is on Violetta's website, violettazironi.com/NFTs. Just for some context of the kinds of NFTs that you've released, the utility associated with some of these. So why don't I start scanning through? Stop me if there's anything that you want to share about any of these. You mentioned Moonshot earlier.
Yeah.
There's Another Life. Yeah. What do you want to say?
Yeah, I want to talk about these two because they're sort of connected, and I'll make it super quick. But Moonshot is sort of my OG um, collection. It's almost 3 years old, which is crazy. I dropped it in April 2022, and it's 2,500 pieces, hand drawn art. My dad did the art because he, like I said, he works for Disney as an illustrator, and it's 5 songs, those that I recorded in Nashville with the band. Um, and that I would say the Moonshot collection is the foundation of my community. Like, if you want to join my community and go all in, you just get a moonshot and you are in the inner circle pretty much. As long as you have one, like that's the one that I feel allows you to enter for real in the community. If you want to get most utilities, I encourage people to buy all 5 songs because each NFT is just one song. So if you complete the album, for example, you get free tickets to all my shows in real life for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Right. And so, like, I have so many people, that have collected all 5 songs and they just show up to my concerts and I'm like, yes, yes, yes. They just come in, right? And so it's very gamified, the collection. Like, there's many ways for you to build yourself a collection that allows you to get more and more and more access, from like free vinyl records to free posters to free merch, a free song that I will write for you completely for free, customized to your likings once a year, depending how many you have, depending which ones. A studio pass. I had a collector recently acquire a Moonshot diamond frame, which enables him to come to the studio with me when I record. And other NFTs, you can book me for a free show in your hometown, once a year. So all these are actually connected to my second collection, Another Life. So a lot of these, there's like cross collection gamification. It's really crazy. Like, it's kind of like there's so many levels, but people are enjoying collecting, because there's always another level you can unlock, kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of what some artists do with Patreon, right?
Right.
With these different levels of sponsorship, but you can never be deplatformed and you maintain autonomy at all times.
For sure. And I just have a direct connection. Like, there's like they're actually buying something. That's the thing. Like, Patreon is great, but I am personally not someone who loves taking tips. I don't know what it is. Like, I just maybe because I'm from Europe. You know how it is in Europe.
Yeah.
Tipping is almost like an insult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, wait, why are you tipping me?
Yeah. This is my
You
job.
know?
Don't
No,
tip me.
exactly. Like, no, I appreciate it because there are some people that send me some tips every so often. Shout out to them. So it's really kind when when it happens. But like, I do love the fact that I'm selling my music. You know what I mean? Like, I am for me, it makes me proud to be able to sell my record and someone buys my record and then joins my community. So, yeah, I really, appreciate that. And actually, I'm also working on creating a better website that's also like a community hub so that people can check better what they have in their wallets, which utilities they have, what they're missing. So yeah, because I really need that and our community needs that. So it's coming.
Nice. Well, I know we're approaching the end of the hour. If there's anything else that you want to highlight real quick.
Um, I would say if people don't have it yet, they should download Parrot Radio. And because that's how you get to listen to my music NFTs easily. You can connect it to your car for Apple and Android, and you can listen while you shower or you do your groceries, whatever. And yeah, they can purchase one of my music NFTs. Another Life is actually really cheap right now, like 0.01 ETH. So that's all they need, and then connect to Parrot Radio, just paste their wallet and listen. That's another thing, right? Because a lot of people in like Web3 still do ask the question, but how do I listen to a music NFT? And it's like Parrot Radio.
Parrot Radio, they're solving it. Yeah, there's something really special. As Brett mentioned, I've released music on Parrot Radio, but also I've collected, and I'm sure a lot of the other artists, anyone collecting and anyone making art in this space also collects art from other artists.
Yeah.
And it's extra special when you are looking at your collection, and it gives you pride to know, like, oh, I'm supporting these artists. This is my collection. It's unique. You can even share out your address. You can say, like, everyone look at my collection. You're welcome to peruse it and play it. So yeah, extra good shout out for Parrot
Absolutely.
Radio that I want to double up on. Well, I know we're approaching the hour, but it wouldn't be a complete Leather Lounge if you were not able to do a performance for us. So I see a guitar in the background.
Yes.
What are you feeling? What direction do you think you want to go in?
I'd like to play a new song because I've been writing quite a bit recently. So
Amazing. Okay.
why don't we do
Before you play the new song, I want to ask you about the songwriting process, how it comes and goes. You said you've been writing a lot more lately. What is your relationship to songwriting? And are you the person that says, look, I show up every day, I write, or do you say, when it comes, it hits me, but I'm not going to push it? What's your approach to the creative process and songwriting?
So I have to say it has changed over the years. And just like anything changes based on how your time availability changes. I think before I was in Web3, I had way more time for songwriting. And so I could afford to just like sit in my room all day and noodle around on the guitar or like make up melodies for like 12 hours straight, right? And just sort of look for it, look for it, look for it. But ever since I really started owning my stuff through the blockchain, my time became very limited, the time that I can actually dedicate to the creative process. But it's not so bad actually, because I end up, sort of being charged with music. You know what I mean? Like maybe for a couple of months, I don't sit down to write a song. And then I designate 2 weeks where that's everything I do every single day. And it's very productive, right? I write maybe like 5 new songs completed in 2 weeks. And I love to co-write. I have a co-writer that I've been two actually. I have two co-writers, but I've been writing a lot with one in particular. Shout out Michael. Been writing with him since for 8 years now. So I only write with those two people. Like I don't really, I found my soulmates, and
Yeah.
that's what I do. And we know each other very well. So actually, in the last 2 months, myself and Michael were able to really lock in and crank out a bunch of new songs. Um, and yeah, I always start from the melody. I don't know why. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, that's great context. Well, without any further ado, we'd love to hear your new song here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is a new one, and it's called Heartbreak O'Clock. Can you hear the guitar?
Yeah, sounds good.
Spin me around, don't say a word, another prosecco, this bouquet is perfect. Tell me the truth, no, tell me a lie tonight, as if we believe it. Just let us dance, one more last dance, resting my head on your shoulder. Don't want this night to be over. Tick tock, it's heartbreak o'clock. 1 minute he loves me, then he loves me not. Oh my God, what happened to us? Time to wake up, it's heartbreak o'clock. Time to wake up, it's heartbreak o'clock. keeping the dream alive. I wanna believe. I'm willing to bet you're stacking the deck. Dangerous game, even sober. 54 cards, and we're the jokers. Tick tock, it's heartbreak o'clock. 1 minute he loves me, then he loves me not. Oh my God, it's heartbreak o'clock. Time to wake up, it's heartbreak o'clock. And there it is.
Wow.
Thank you.
Incredible. Ah, is that your first time performing it?
No, I've played it, but I'm still sort of, learning it.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about the lyrics. Did I say the right thing? Whatever. 'Cause
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, there were so many great moments. That little chromatic interlude. Loved that. There was one chord in there kind of that stuck out. And there's, well, one thing that I noticed about a lot of your songwriting, just to tag on to what we were talking about earlier, is the chord progressions and how there's some sophistication there. So I think that's amazing. Yeah, amazing melody.
We really do think about those things,
Yeah.
We really, really, really try. And you know
Yeah.
what? I want to add something. And I haven't even announced it, but I've had a song recently that got cut by a different artist. Um, it hasn't come out yet, but it's a song that I wrote a really long time ago that I completely had forgotten about, like entirely, because I didn't think it was great. I don't know, like I just wrote it and I left it, and it got cut by a quite important artist, and it almost like pissed me off because I was like, how is it that that song that I literally wrote in an hour, and put no effort in, like, is now gonna be cut, in this big album? And then I realized maybe it's actually because like I spend, years trying to figure out these sophisticated chords, and then I can afford to like write a whatever song in an hour and it's gonna be acceptable. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway,
And everyone finds their own thing in your music. It's
right,
different for everyone.
right.
Amazing. Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to say about that song is I love that it's in 3/4 or 6/8, and that is the best time signature for storytelling songs. It flows so well. So
I agree. Yep.
can't wait to see the evolution of this song and everything else that you have going. So
Thank you
is there
so
anything
much.
else? I know we're kind of at the end of the hour, but is there anything else you wanted to talk about today or let the audience know about?
I want to let the audience know that they can become part of my community. And like I said, for as cheap as 0.01 ETH, I know we're with Leather.
Sorry about that.
Okay, it's fine.
Rogue
It's
mouse click.
Yeah, for 0.01 ETH, not all my songs are 1 Bitcoin, so there's like a range for everyone, to join. But if they want to hear more of this, sort of what we just did today, especially the live performance, every week, every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I play a private concert on Zoom, just like this, for my holders, like every week for the last 3 years, unless I'm traveling. So
Wow.
yeah, so I just want to say, if people liked it, and they want to hear more, I play unreleased songs, new songs, I take requests, do covers. Also, it's Friday night, we have a drink on Zoom with the community, every week. So if they want to join, that's like the first perk they get right off the bat. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well, Violetta, thank you so much for joining us. That was a great conversation. It's amazing to connect with you and hear about your origin stories. The live performance is amazing, of course.
Thank
And
you.
it's just, it's amazing to see this new direction that you are really pioneering. So I'm excited to see what you do, especially with Kaya Music, because I think this kind of innovation on the blockchain is what we're so excited about here and what we love highlighting. So everyone, make sure that you are following Violetta if you're not already. Violetta's handle is Zironi Violetta. Is that right?
Correct.
Good. So make sure you're giving her a follow. Follow us at Leather BTC as well. We're going to be back next week. We're going to be talking with the team at Alex from Stacks, and we're going to be highlighting a lot of the builders who have just won the Biddle Battle in the Stacks ecosystem. So talking about more innovation next week, as always, every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And once again, thanks to everyone for listening, and thank you again, Violetta, for joining us here.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you for your music as well.
My pleasure. It's a real honor. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thanks again for joining us in the Leather Lounge. We record each episode live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And if you'd like to listen in or join us on stage, make sure to give us a follow on X at LeatherBTC. Leather is your gateway to everything Bitcoin, from DeFi to stacks, ordinals, runes, stamps, NFTs, and more. You can find loads of helpful crypto content on our YouTube channel and visit our blog and learn center at leather.io.
All right.